Sometimes I'll be walking on the road. I want to walk into a moving trailer. I feel like just dying. Yes. I really got depressed to the extent that I was looking for answers in places that I shouldn't get answers.
Places.
Yes. It was 10 years of abuse.
10 years of abuse.
Yes, 10 years of abuse.
No break.
Constant abuse. Now you heard that I was attacked and somebody brought me home like 1 a.m. You can come to my house when we are going for vigil and you can bring us back home when we are coming back from vigil. But now you heard at that time you couldn't come. But somehow we had exams the next day. He expected that if I was raped, I won't be in school. But now I was in school for exam. So it was in between. Was she raped? And I told my mom, I really don't want to go on with this guy. But somehow, the confusion, I won't say conviction, the confusion from different people, I began to think that maybe I was the one wrong and they were all right.
Marry how? You.
From the blue.
No, I can't marry you now. You know. It's not going to be possible. With your kind of attitude and no, I cannot. He said, no, he was a fool. I said, you are, so now you are no longer a fool. I'm very stupid. This and this, enough of all this.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Balance, where we get to see life from our different perspectives. My name is Mbasti Jesse, and as always, I am your host. And you know that this is usually a very interesting and revealing conversation right here, where we just get to hear other people speak about a certain topic from their experiences, their perspectives. And we get to learn, foster respect, mutual understanding, and ultimately love. Honestly, that's a goal for me on this show, because when you understand people, you treat them better, you respect them more, you love them more, I guess. Okay, so today our conversation is around domestic violence or gender-based violence, and this is in line with the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence towards women and the girl child. And the ladies and the women that I have here are people who have offered to have this conversation from experience, from knowledge, from their learning, and get to just make the society a better place for everyone, women, girls, and men alike. And I'm very blessed and glad that I have them here in the room. So I'm going to begin with the person closest to me. Introductions. I have Victoria Vani Shodende. She's the CEO, School Medics Consulting. She's also the founder, the School Symposium, and an educator. I like to say very passionate educator. Yes. Thank you so much for being here.
Really
Victoria.
excited to be here. Thank you.
Vicky comes to mind because, I mean, like I said earlier,
Go with
it's
it.
I know, I love it. It's my mom's. It was my mom has passed, and it was my mom's name, and she means the world to us, and she was Vicky. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I also have Miss Esther Williams Deshi. She's a grassroots development champion and a survivor of gender-based violence. Thank you so much for coming here for this.
It's a pleasure.
It's very, very good to have you. And I was saying, for her, for Esther, she offered to be here from social media. So I put out a post and I'm like, I need someone who is willing to come for this conversation, whether you are healing or you've healed or in the process of it. If you're open to having a conversation about your experience, if you've had one with domestic violence, please send me a DM. And she did. So this is so honorable, so bold, so courageous to do. And I thank you so much.
Thank you so
and it
much.
matters so much to me that truly you put yourself forward to.
It's my
to
pleasure.
do this. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a great time.
Yeah. Thank you.
I also have a survivor. First time I heard Moni's story, I'm like, you say? What did you say? And I'm glad that she's here to share her story and also share what she is now doing for other people who are walking the path that she's walked on. And so I have Monisola Ayekusein.
You got it?
Yeah, I should have a bell for myself. Monisola is the founder of Bether Bell Foundation. And she also runs Bether Bell Free Elementary School for internally displaced children, where she has like 150 children, where she is giving free education. That is so commendable. She is a community advocate as well, and a survivor of gender-based violence, domestic violence in this regard. Thank you, ladies. Ladies, I don't want to say women, ladies, for doing this with us. And so I'm going to begin with Moni. Look, this conversation, we started having it before the main conversation. I already spoke for like an hour. And, so we're going to try to manage our time because there are deep things to talk about.
Yes.
But Moni, let me begin with you.
Okay.
Share with us your story and just like a summary of your story and how you got here. Of course, I have questions in between, but give us a hint of the things. Maybe we should begin from maybe not how you even got over it. We'll get there. But what your experience was with domestic violence.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the privilege.
Thank you so much.
It's
for
something
being
I
here.
actually like to do because I believe when I share, it gives other women the opportunity to know where they are at the moment. So I would like to say that I was in my marriage for 10 years and it was 10 years of abuse.
10 years of abuse.
Yes, 10 years of abuse.
No break.
Constant abuse.
Begin from the foundation, because I like the story of how this, we usually say, were they signs when it started? Like, did you start from the
Okay.
beginning? So I'm saying that it should be a question for later, but I'm saying it so you begin from the foundation that you did not know about, that I know about now,
All right.
that led to the marriage. And then so share from how you met this person and,
Okay.
take it up from there.
So we met in school. We actually met. We were doing the same course. I attended Olabisi Onabanjo University.
Okay.
Aside from the diploma. So we're both classmates in the diploma class.
Okay.
So I was a focused student. Is it at school or fellowship?
Fellowship, church girl,
I was a church
FCS.
girl, So usually I go from school to my hostel or from my hostel to the school fellowship. I found out that he was a member of my school fellowship but wasn't consistent. And he was my classmate. So occasionally we bump on each other on the field on my way to class. We just say hi, then leave. One of those days we met on the field and he was like, I've been watching you. Are you in DILR? Then I was in Diploma 2, Industrial and Labor Relations. I said, yes. Are you attending Dominion Christian Embassy? It was a student arm of the Redeemed Christian Fellowship. I said, yes. So he said, I'd like you to be my friend. I said, I'm not interested because I was a very blunt person. I'm not interested in being your friend because I didn't usually have friends. I don't keep friends. But somehow he persisted. After that day, we met again. He became my elder sister's friend because my elder sister was in the same class with me. So he persisted. And because he became my elder sister's friend, somehow I began to interact with him. Somehow I didn't like his look. He was looking like someone who was tough, in quotes. I don't want to, but he was not looking like someone who I want to be a friend to.
Okay.
And somehow we became friends, casual friends. We're talking to each other. We finished our diploma class. He began to talk about relationship. And I said I wasn't interested in relationship until I was 21. And I will be 21 3 years later.
Oh, you were quite young.
I was young.
So you
I
were
got
like, what,
into school.
18?
I was 18. So I got into school very early.
Yeah.
Somehow we became friends. He was coming. He was talking to my sister. I would come to our hostel, visit us. And because we knew each other in school, he was preparing the ground to ensure that something happens. The consistency was so much. After a while, I was like, I've never tried a relationship.
Women are bought into consistency, Jerry. All of
I've
us
never
now.
tried a relationship. Then let me try. I told my mom about it because I was a very open person. I've never gone home with any guy. I've never been a friend to any.
So this was your first relationship?
My first relationship and the person I got married to. And then he asked me out eventually. I was in my 3rd year in the university then. I'd done my direct entry. We were in the same faculty again.
Oh.
Yes, he was in economics and education. I was in accounting and education.
So
we were
education.
always seeing each other. All the while, I never knew he had bet with my sister and bet with my friend during the diploma class that I will date this girl.
That's the highlight
and I
for
will
me.
marry her. So I thought it was just love. I thought it was just consistent. He really loved me and wanted to marry me. And so we started dating. I told my mom, she was so excited. You know, mothers, my daughter has never brought a man home. Now she said she's in a relationship. So she was in full support because she knows me. That I wasn't that girl that would just get into a relationship and come out. So she was excited about it. We began the relationship. But something happened that would have been a red flag. I need to be sincere.
Okay.
So in my 300 level second semester, I think just almost a year towards the relationship, I was attacked in school by cult guys.
Wow.
You know, it was, I remember the date, 11th of February, 2007.
Wow.
So I was attacked in school because I was wearing a red shirt and a black skirt, and it was one of those colors they fly.
Yeah.
But I had no idea anyway because I had no idea things like that was actually going on in school. So he thought I was raped during that attack because all the while he has been asking that let's get there. He wanted sex. And because I was a church girl, I was principled. I always told him, you will wait till marriage. So that day he was offended. Usually he comes to take us to fellowship maybe by 11, 12 when we're going for videos. Now you heard that I was attacked and somebody brought me home like 1 a.m. You can come to my house when we're going for video and you can bring us back home when we're coming back from video. But now you heard at that time you couldn't come. But somehow we had exams the next day. He expected that if I was raped, I won't be in school. But now I was in school for exam. So it was in between. Was she raped? Was she not raped? I wasn't raped.
So he was offended at the possibility that you had been
I
raped.
Giving
Somebody else what he had been asking for.
You know, so that
was his offense.
Yes,
not what happened to you.
Not what happened. So
see.
at that time, if I was someone who thought deeply, I should have thought that this person doesn't value me. But somehow, I didn't really take into consideration. We didn't talk because we broke up for 18 months after that incident. Yes. And it would have been a good way to part ways for life. But we didn't. We parted ways till we graduated. I went to serve in Plateau State, Manchin, local government. And then we were still having issues. We're not talking.
Esther smiling.
I told my mom that I wasn't interested anymore in the relationship. There were other people coming. But the things I said while I was in school, I would say the first person I date is the first person I married.
Okay.
Was probably one of the things that kept me or made me go back to that relationship. Despite the fact that I said I wasn't going back. Then it was my birthday. I was away. I was in Plateau State. He was in Lagos. He didn't serve because he had passed the age. He came all the way, 21 hours from Lagos to celebrate me.
You are bought. I bought you back.
we had issues there, but he said he just wanted to wish me happy birthday. And I lived in NCCF family house. And they knew that I was not in a relationship. So when he came, they were surprised. I said, yes, we used to be in a relationship. We were broken up and they began to talk to me. Coppers.
Of course.
Like, money. The angel you know is better than this. All sorts of talks. Well, I said, I only consider us being friends again, no relationship. And I meant it actually. Celebrated me, I had an amazing time, and he went back to Lagos. But on getting to Lagos, he ran to my mom and said, Mommy, I settled with money. We are back together.
Very
and that
strategic.
was not true. Then behind me, they started planning introduction.
Wow.
Without your knowledge.
Without my knowledge. So I came back home in December. That was my first time during my service year to come back. I was to pass out in March 2010, but I came back December. And my mom said, Pendo was here and he came with his family to let me know that I said, to do what? He said, to introduce his family officially to me. I said, for what? We're just friends. You know, the counseling began there too. And I told my mom, I really don't want to go on with this guy. But somehow, the confusion, I won't say conviction, the confusion from different people, I began to think that maybe I was the one wrong and they were all right. Because everybody was saying the same thing. I was the only person seeing from the another perspective. And why was I seeing from another perspective? I felt if I was in danger and probably I would have been raped, and the only thing you could think about was your selfish reason, then you don't deserve to marry me. That was my perspective. But every other person felt nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. They felt it was just
One of them.
mistake. Yes. And then I yielded. There was no sign. There was no other sign outside that. I had no idea. There was no other sign that he would probably be abusive. He would probably not value me.
So
And
you
then
got married
I got
eventually.
married. And then when we got married on my wedding day, I was hearing Pendor one. And I was wondering, one what? And then my sister came to tell me that, do you know when we were in Deep 2, he bet with me and his friends that he was going to get married to you. And I told him he wasn't going to get married to you. But because I believed you were not going to agree. But somehow today, it has
So he
happened.
won.
You are married. So he actually won. But I didn't take it to heart.
Of course.
You know, because I felt the relationship was already working. It was a huge wedding. It was the talk of the town. And everybody was wanting to be like me. Oh, this girl that kept herself, she graduated, she's having a beautiful wedding. And I felt it was actually a beautiful wedding. But somewhere at the corner of my heart, there was fear.
was something. Oh, wow.
I knew there was fear because I remember reaching out to a mentor. I had a mentor then who was a first square pastor. And I kept telling him, he's late now, of blessed memory. I said, Pastor Wale, there's this fear. I'm afraid of tomorrow. A day to my wedding, I still went to him. I'm afraid. I don't know what it is. But if I had understood earlier that fear was part of the way God speaks to me to know that when there's no peace in a situation, it means
There's
that
something.
there's something wrong. There's something God is calling your attention to. So, but I didn't have that understanding at that time. But now I know better. And so, because I usually tell people the absence of peace is that God is not in it.
That's right.
Now I actually know better.
Yes.
But then I had no idea. We got married and I received my first slap 1 month after my wedding.
After.
Yes. And then I was already a few weeks pregnant. I received my first.
So no sign of
no
any
sign
form
of
of
abuse.
violence before marriage.
No sign. This was someone while we were dating in school. If he offends me, we kneel down in the middle of the road
Omo.
and be like, have you watched Coming to America?
Yes.
And he'll be like, beg money for me. I can't survive without her. So you have no idea. If you see him today sincerely, you will think money will be the trouble.
The bad person.
He will be the same because he has calm, gentle disposition.
Tell us about when. Oh, wait. Let me allow you breathe.
Okay.
I'll move on and travel around and come
Okay.
back because there's more to your story that
Yeah.
I'd love for you to share. But let me move to Esther. Let me save our educator for later. Tell us about your experience in marriage with what you've had to deal with. For me, the fact that you can even come sit here, I mean, after you sent me that message, I looked you up on social media and I saw that you're this vocal person, you're an advocate, you're speaking to girls, to children, you're out there, you know? And I'm like, okay. It's interesting that I see this woman and they tell you they have experienced domestic violence. And when we started talking and you mentioned that, I'm actually kind of still there. I said, I don't make it make sense. Are you serious? You actually are. So tell us your story. Marriage, marital journey up till now.
Wow.
And what your own part of the story is.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyway, marriage to me, just as it is, it's supposed to be something that you will enjoy, understanding each other. I know conflicts abound, but
You're right.
how you manage it matters.
Yes.
But in this case, it seems my case is a kind of different. I don't understand. Because right from the onset, before we got married, I knew him when we were in school. We were in the
You
same
too.
faculty, yes. The same
Very
faculty
similar.
that in University of Jos, the same department, but different courses. So we were dating. After a while, we now broke up because I understood that he has that ego, pride, and then he's not remorseful and he's temperamental, a kind of silent one and manipulative. He always look as if you're always the one, because I'm a blunt person and I'm extrovert. while he's an introvert.
So you're the outgoing one.
Yes,
You're the one who can always cause trouble. Don't mind me. I'm
Exactly.
just saying
And
that's the impression.
No, that is
for
how people
outgoing
are
people.
looking. That is how people looked at it, but
Yes.
it's the other way around. You know, you will never know what he wants, or wherever you offend him, he will not say anything. You understand? At times you see him, you just get up and start going. You don't want to give me this, and because you see that I'm not doing, because you have this. Is that how to go about? So I thought maybe, okay. And I'm looking at him. He's somehow an elderly person, unlike me.
Oh,
At times
really?
I would
He's
say,
much
okay,
older?
Yes. I said, okay, sorry, you know. Okay, let's do it this way, thinking maybe to bring him back to his right senses. And the moment you start talking, he'll be on the defensive side.
So he was not one to apologize.
He will never apologize. So we broke
you see
out.
this switch. That
We
one
broke
was
out.
over apologetic before marriage.
In fact, I was like, okay, I continue my life. Not until 2016. No, 2015. Right? Yes. He now came back. He called me. He had to come to Jos. Like, he want to marry. I said, marry how? You.
From the blue.
No, I can't marry you now. You know. It's not going to be possible. With your kind of attitude and no, I cannot. He said, no, he was a fool. I said, you are, so now you are no longer a fool. He had to go to my auntie's house, my friends, you know, because my parents are all deceased. I don't have siblings like direct siblings, no. People had to talk to me. I said, okay, fine.
Same, right?
If to cut the whole story short, the marriage, let's go to the marriage stage. He's not responsible, like he cannot provide. Do you understand? So I was looking at it, okay, possibly because he's not working. Do you understand? Okay, we grow up together. It's not a problem. And I'm a kind of hustler. I'm a go-getter. I don't relent, you know. I don't stay idle. I must find one thing or the other doing. You
so
know?
This is you footing the bill for everything, pretty much.
In fact.
That's another conversation
You understand?
we actually do need to have.
So,
but
he got one job with NGO, like a contract. Nothing was just forthcoming. I don't even care what he has been doing because I don't want to be confrontational, so that I don't want problem. I understand the kind of person he is gradually. I said, this person has not changed, so I have to be very careful. When we left Utako, we went back to New Nyanya. That was where that abuse now, that physical
2022.
abuse, 2022. What happened that day was that prior to that day, I was having a poultry farm. I said, okay, let me help myself doing one or two things, like, you know. So I now put those chicks. He said, why should I even keep poultry in the house? That it's smelly, it's not hygienic, whatever thing. I said, no wahala now. I sold those ones off. The chicken that he kept, it was his brother that gave us that money. He didn't even tell me. He gave him money so that we should share. He didn't tell me. So he was like, you want to keep chicken, this and this. I know he's not going to be able to do it. I will be the one doing it. The weather was cold. So they need warmth, else they would die. I looked for matches. I couldn't get it. I was asking him, please, how about the lighter? So he was telling me it's on the bed. I said, okay. I couldn't see it on the bed. I was just looking everywhere. I was just lying down, sleeping. So I was like, this thing that I'm doing, no, it's not that I'm doing it for anybody. It's just because of fear of God, you know. Before I could say Jack Robinson.
You're the one who is supposed to be doing that.
Before I could say Jack Robinson, I just, I just feel one hand from the back, like he was strangulating. I said, what's happening?
Oh, wow.
He now pushed me on the floor. He was just punching me. I was like, what is all this? I was like, this is beyond my imagination. How can I save myself? It was already late, like 12 midnight. I said, what will I do? I had one Healy shoe. I was about taking it to hit on it. Something now struck me. Don't do that. You may end up killing someone. They will charge you for murder. I now kept it. What I did was that I now held his finger, his ring finger. I beat it like. That was how he jumped off. I ran out. Closed the door. We had goats. They were his goats, but I was the one taking care. Do you know that I had to learn how to inject goats?
Oh, wow.
I became a veterinary doctor.
Wow.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
I had to run into that goat pen. So he came to the window. Come and open this door. I need medical attention. I say, hey.
For
not
biting
me,
the finger.
I say, not me.
Okay.
I say, not me until daybreak. So already I snapped everything now. The next day.
Before then, what
Yes.
was going on? What were because I know that you've spoken about emotional abuse.
That was on the long run.
That
was after this physical abuse. I didn't know that.
Because you didn't know you were going through
In fact,
emotion.
I didn't even know that there's anything like gender violence or any domestic.
You didn't know what you were going through.
I don't know. To be
Wow.
sincere, until what I told you there about that rape, that house.
Yes.
That was why I now knew that I need to call NAPTIP. So the next morning, I had to call NAPTIP. They were like, how about if he knows he's going to hurt you the more? I said, as I'm calling you, he's seated here. Like, I don't need to hide any. I'm not lying. Like, I'm not lying. I don't know what the next thing will be. I don't want to die in silence. People should know. You understand? So they now said I should come to the office here in Zone 5. I had to go there. I wrote the petition, which I sent to you.
Yes, I saw that.
And the picture. The file is still there. They called. I didn't even know that they called him. It was his friend that told me like 2 weeks ago that he told him that they called him, that he cannot go there. That he didn't. He
didn't go.
Hey, he didn't go.
This was in 2022.
That was in 2022.
This is now 2 years later.
Yes. So we kept on living.
Exactly. Explain to that. I'm
Now,
curious to know why you're still together. Yes.
I looked at it. Esther, do you know he left the house for 5 days before coming back? I was still looking after those chicken, 150 birds.
Wow.
Vaccination, drugs, feeding. If I looked at myself at the mirror, I said, is this me? Really? I would just sit down. So one of my friends, she now observed, if she called me at times, Lani, leave me. So one day she now said, I think you need a change of environment. I said, let me send transport money to you. She now sent transport money to me. That was in October. That was October 14th last year. So I left to just like, I was traveling to Sokoto. It was that far. After 10 days, she said, you are not even coming back now. So there's something that one of my friends now included our name. This NCC, they were about doing one survey like that. So she included our name with him as well. So that was what made me to come, so that I would be able to do that. He was so eager to see me coming, so I continued down my slavery. Because so long as I'm concerned, I was a slave.
Wow. Why are you still here?
Thank you very much. I don't even know why I was still there. Because the love wasn't even there. There's no any intimacy, anything. It's not that I have a child or anything. But I felt like, okay, coming out of that place, where will I go to? I don't have parents. I don't have siblings.
So you don't have family. You don't have immediate family.
You understand? I don't have siblings. Who will tolerate me? I don't have a job, for crying out loud.
Exactly.
So how can I live my life?
But you're a hustler.
You understand?
You're literally the family is surviving on you. Do you understand?
Do you get,
I'm sorry.
But it's a mindset. Another thing is the mindset.
That's it. So that is where I feel like a couple of women are at. You're literally the breadwinner. But you're too afraid to step out to be on your own. Because you don't have a job.
Yes.
Say that. Do you understand?
In fact, it's shocking.
So does he give you an allowance now?
Which allowance? Somebody that said I should
Victoria had a good laugh.
Like last 2 weeks, because I told him he's having a child out of wedlock. And I didn't know. He didn't even disclose it.
Before you got married?
Yes.
But let me ask you, Victoria. I mean, you're an educator. I don't know if you get to speak with people. And a major reason why you're here is because you're going to speak to the effect as to what education. I mean, you've raised different points. Like I said, we had this conversation before now, say. So, and you've brought certain perspectives, like when we're talking about narcissism and a couple of other things, which we will speak about. Because, off camera, like what you said, what Moni said, what Esther said, they spoke about this men being narcissists and putting themselves first. My question, much as I know we're going to get there, is around, do you feel that Moni, you shared before now also that you were taking responsibility for a couple of things.
For everything.
Everything to literally,
Everything.
financially.
And he was making money, but he was investing, and I was paying the bills.
He was investing in what? Is it not
Houses.
investment? Is it? Eh?
He was building houses, buying lands.
But not taking care of the
Yes,
home.
but I was footing the bills. Everything.
Hey.
Is this a common thing? Do you think that this plays a part with domestic violence? So for her, I mean, Moni, you were physically abused. For you, you were more mentally and
Emotionally.
emotionally
Yes.
abused. And sometimes even the silent treatment
Yes.
is
worst.
heavy abuse. Is there a way, and this is for all of us, but I mean, I'm opening you up to be able to, let's hear your voice at this point, that men who do not get to play their duty, their role as providers, has a way of affecting the dynamics of the relationship eventually that makes it become abusive?
Should I give you the short answer or the long answer?
Anyone. Anyone that works.
Well, you can look at it really from two perspectives. The first perspective is understanding that gender-based violence is not limited to developing countries. It's not limited to
Developed.
lower economic families or marriages or couples. This is a global pandemic. As a matter of fact, some of the European countries that have the highest, life indexes, so the Finlands and what have you, have the US, they have the highest rates of gender-based violence.
I'm almost saying, isn't it not just because we do not keep our own indexes and have our own stats?
Not
because I'm on this Nigeria.
the point there.
lot.
The point there is that this
It is a real
not.
thing.
It's a real thing, and it's not necessarily tied to
just us.
socioeconomic brackets.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, not entirely, but at the same time, a lot of research into the development of the workforce and labor since the First World War, well, First and Second World War, the industrial age, has revealed that the changes in gender dynamics, initially the workforce was filled with men. They go out to work industry during the Industrial Revolution, and the women stayed at home. So this traditional gender roles. But during the First and Second World War, what happened is that the men went out to war, and the women ended up having to take up more
the
roles.
responsibility.
So there's when lots of the men came back, they found that the women were no longer ready to just go back and sit at home. Many men died or many men were injured, but the women were now a part and parcel of the workplace. So that's the first one. And then the second thing is that we gradually started moving away from the Industrial Revolution to a workplace that's much more computer-based, computer age, administrative focused.
Right.
Our markets are now less industrial and much more sophisticated.
Right.
And who dominates that atmosphere? Women, because they have the administrative skills, they have the secretarial skills. And so you find that increasingly, most companies want a woman. The corporate sector has such a large percentage of women and men who view it as not work that is hard enough work for them, not challenging enough.
It's not challenging.
Exactly. So you have a lot of women now entering the workforce, and that changes the dynamics in the home. So women are less happy to take on just primarily homekeeping roles, and that creates a lot of disparity between the expectations of men
by society and culture.
And the expectations that women have for themselves. And now you find out that even in Nigeria, most people that are college educated, so university education, are women. Yes. If you look at our statistics in states like Abia State, women dominate in terms of getting a first degree. So you have that tension between, so not only as a woman do you have to go out and work, you now have to come back home and still play the traditional role. And in places where you have a traditional mindset, where the man does
Exactly,
not
from the
think
men.
that he can microwave food, or where the man does not even think that even after you've cooked the food, he can dish the food for himself.
Yeah.
You
exactly.
have women increasingly becoming strained, and men increasingly feeling displaced.
Makes
Because
sense.
most men don't want their wives to come back at the end of the home tired and unwilling to attend to them.
Yeah.
Instead, am I the man now supposed to come and tend to you? So you have that tension, and that creates, so that is part of the
Brings an
reason why you
imbalance.
see gender-based violence. It's not to say, I mean, even in our parents' age, our grandparents' age, it's
has
been
been
part
there.
of
Yeah,
society,
you're right. It has
been
industrial
there.
age or no. However, you can see how this dynamics, how reporting data, analyzing data, women speaking up more freely about
Right.
gender-based violence
Yeah.
is making it clear that this is not a socioeconomic thing. This is not necessarily a country or cultural thing. This is not even necessarily a religious or geographic thing. This is a global pandemic,
It's a
and it
pandemic.
has
It
a
is what
lot
it
to
is.
do with our innate understanding of
what the roles
gender-based
are.
roles.
Yes, so roles, societal
Yes,
expectations from
exactly.
both genders and so on. When you were
Exactly.
saying, the issue of now the roles are changing because of the exposure that women are having and what they're taking on,
Yes.
that wasn't the case before. And like you said, the man is wondering, am I supposed to be tending to you, or you're supposed to be doing it to me?
When you think about it, it's very emasculating.
Yes, it is. And the thought that crossed my head is, yes, but you also have men these days expecting that you go out and I'm fine with you making the money as well and coming to play the roles we expect the men to play,
Yes.
but still serving
Absolutely.
and playing the cultural role when you are not playing your own cultural role.
So a woman's role in the home has been defined. We need to be very careful to ensure that this discourse does not take on a plurality, and you end up having a gender war, because it's very, especially with social media that amplifies
You're right.
everything, polarizes everything, and it becomes feminism versus male chauvinism,
Which is not what we're after right now.
That's not what we're after. That doesn't solve any problems.
You're right.
It takes us having a much more sophisticated understanding of, if our men are struggling, and research actually data shows that men are struggling with mental health issues.
So
rate
talking
of
about narcissism and
the rate
stuff
of
like that.
suicide in Nigeria amongst young males is becoming exponential. So I think there's a male identity crisis. And as mothers, as sisters, as educators, as wives and friends, we can't help men shape their identity, but we need to encourage them to
get that
have
fixed.
a positive discourse at reimagining not just the role of man in society, but the role of the African man. Because the African man
And the African woman.
Yes, true.
It's
but the
both ways,
African
yes.
woman, we've been able to dynamically
Somehow.
reinvent ourselves.
Yes.
We've been able to do this naturally, but we need to ask ourselves, why is it so hard? Because there are sons. We're raising them. Why is it so hard for them to find the new male identity in modern society?
Great. Thank you. So when an educator speaks, when we're talking earlier, I said the men will love Victoria. She's a really good balance. Moni, I want you to speak about your experience. This is just one out of a couple of others that I know you have.
Thousands of experience.
My sister. But let's talk about the one where the story where I know the part I heard.
pregnancy?
Yes, your
Wow.
twin pregnancy and you
Okay.
having, because much as we, and again, I like the balance, and we will get to the point where we talk about narcissism and truly look at when you are just dealing with an abuser, not someone who is just dealing with life too and has moments. I feel like that's different.
Yes.
Like you put it, I mean, you have the best words to express these kind of things. Educator, you do it better than me, self. I feel like sometimes I have the words, but
You're doing
you
amazing.
do a good job. And you were saying sometimes
Right.
it's important to set the difference apart between someone who is just narcissistic just an abuser doesn't care and selfish as against someone, as against a relationship where there's just a communication bridge.
Yes.
There's just something wrong. It's both ways. There's something wrong with the chain of how you communicate. Let's speak about what you now and this experience, because sometimes from this experience that you can know, this person, there's nothing you can tell me. You can give the excuse that they're dealing with their issues. Yes, everybody's dealing with something. But in the midst of your issues that you're inconsiderate. And you know, when we were saying about the thought that you can say you want to bet that you're going to get this person, you mentioned that he literally became a protocol. It became your pastor's protocol. For someone who wasn't exactly like was he a church boy before that time?
He wasn't really a church person.
He
But
became
he
pastor's
did all that to get me.
to win his bet. Vicky had not an excuse. She had words. She had a defense.
Not a defense.
Not like a defense,
Not a
but
defense,
a blanket
rationalization.
rational opinion. You know, to say, but I mean, all of us are selfish, right? That's how you put it. Like, he will definitely do something to want to. All of us, why do we marry at the end of the day? Like she said, all of us, it's not because we want something. But I understand. And I mean, it was a point that we could not also
Overlook.
It was a point that we didn't have anything to counter per se in that regard, because truly we see the terms and we're like, okay, this is good for us. We want to get into it, right? However, I know that it becomes bad when the person has no consideration for the other party involved.
Yes.
That's when it is selfish. It's about what I can get from this, regardless of how it affects the other person. And I don't care. So all of this to get to your story. Moni, tell us about that story where you went to lie down on tiles with a complicated pregnancy and you were carrying twins.
Okay, so, well, I would say that at a point I became used to abuse. And I felt that it was normal.
And this was you getting married as a church girl in your first relationship ever.
First and only relationship. So when I got into the marriage, and the first experience I had, like I said, I was slapped for something I wasn't supposed to be slapped for. Because I was fresh in marriage, I quickly told my mom. She was the first person I told. And that complicated the issue. Because I told my mom. And that was where we had the issue of him no longer allowing my mom to come and nurse my babies. I had to nurse babies myself.
So he will let you do your omugwo?
Yes. Alone. Even the twins. I nursed them alone.
You have nobody?
And I was always doing exclusive breastfeeding. Even the twins. I did, because I knew I was going to food the bills. So aside the fact that I wanted to do exclusive breastfeeding for the other kids that were single children, for the twins, if I dabble into feeding them, I will foot the bills.
Right.
So I knew the consequences. I had to endure it. So
you exclusively breastfed your twin?
6 months. So eventually the abuse continued. And because my mom was aware, it became an issue. Like, how would you go and tell your family I slapped you?
Wow.
And so it triggered him. Anything that happens, he will be quick to lay his hands on me. And so I became afraid too. Because I didn't want any form of issues between him and my parents. So I stopped talking to my parents. I started to swallow everything that was happening to me. But there's a point abuse will get into. You won't be able to swallow it anymore.
Yes.
It's written all over your face. Everybody that sees you knows that something is wrong.
Yes.
I continued with life. When I go to church, people just notice that this woman is experiencing something. He could beat me up in the morning. I will go to church. He will still lead Sunday school. Yes, we're both ministers in church.
Hallelujah.
So he will go and lead Sunday school. I will be in the children's church because I've always been a children's teacher all my life. People knew that something was wrong. But then I was always excited to go out because he isolated me from friends, family. So the only place I had the opportunity to smile and be happy was the church. So I would always look forward to going to church. And then when he noticed that I was happy going to church too, he cut me off from going to church.
So anything that
makes me happy was a no for him. So I would like to start from where I decided to go back to school because he didn't want me to work. He didn't want me to work. I was teaching in a school, and then he didn't want me to work. And I felt like I'd already told you I wanted to do my master's before we got married. And you said, let's get married. My parents were ready to foot the bills, but he said, let's get married. You do it. And I noticed the way he was going, I wasn't going to do it. And like she said, she's a go-getter. I was someone who wanted to do anything at all costs, not considering the consequences. So I went ahead. I purchased the form at University of Ibadan. I wanted to read guidance and counseling. So he discovered that I had bought the form. He was so angry. Then he said, you won't go to Ibadan. You want to go and stay with your mom in Lagos, because my mom was in Lagos. Then I already had my first child.
Where were you people living?
We went by us. Immediately we got married, we moved to Yenagoa. So I lived 10 years of my married life in Yenagoa.
Wow.
So he discovered that I had bought the UI form. He bought the Uniben form for me. And so,
to keep you with
yes, but because I knew I wasn't interested in going to Uniben, I just casually filled in international relations, never knowing that it was a closed-ended course. It was an MBA. And I wanted to be a lecturer. So when I got the admission for you, I was so excited. And now I've gotten the admission. And then I had a window. They would close their application, the admission in like 30 days. So I was supposed to do the registration. It didn't give me the opportunity to. So the window closed. I had no choice. I wanted to escape from abuse. I wanted to have a master's. I settled for University of Benin. So in the course of the course, I discovered that it was an MBA. I wasn't interested. So I decided to try to work it out. I switched to MSc in international relations. And then I began to talk to people. I made friends. I began to share with them. There was another problem. He insisted that I was going to stay in his family house. Now, I was nursing a 7-month-old baby. He wanted me to stay in the family house.
This was what kid now? What child?
The first child.
Okay.
So
because you have 5. I need to say it.
That was the first time my parents wanted
Such
me
a good
to
body.
leave after that experience. So I stayed with his family members. But the way they were taking care of my child was not the way I wanted to take care of my child. They had dogs in their house. When I come back from school, I see my child crawling in the midst of dogs. I didn't want it. So by all means, I told my mom I needed to get a place. He was against it. So I insisted that I was going to get a place with the support of my mom. And because I had worked before, I had savings. We got a place. Then immediately I moved. He stopped talking to me. And for the next 18 months I spent in that school, there was no communication between me and him. There was no communication between him and my child. Yes. Wow. So my parents virtually footed the bill, taking care of that little baby for 7 months. And then my father was still alive. So my father said, once you graduate, come back home. Remember, you're a Yoruba girl. We do not, we return the bride price. So we didn't sell you. Come back home. So I obeyed my parents. That was the first time I left. So I went back home after graduation. So after I went back home, I think he realized that something was wrong. He came with his family members, 7 of them. They came to plead. And my daddy made it clear to him that we were all girls in my family. I have 3 and I don't joke with them. You see, I'm ready to give them all they require to become who a man can be. So he pleaded, his family pleaded, it's not going to happen again. And I went back with him. But my mom wasn't
This was after how long? So you had
18 months.
So you were with your family for 18 months?
No, I was with my family.
So that's plus being in school.
Yes.
And then being with your family.
Being with my family, I didn't even spend up to 2 weeks. Immediately he understood that I'd gone home. He mobilized his family members.
So you have been married for like 2 years?
Yes, I was married. Then it was going to 3 years.
3 years.
It was going to 3 years then. So I went back with him. To him. He repented for like 6 months. He was a nice husband. He was loving. He was caring. Then the abuse returned. This time, in a deeper dimension. He would beat me, he would throw my things out. Then sex was rape for me in marriage. Sex was rape. If he wants to have sex with me, he's so sorry, he's wrong, but he would tear my underwears, yes. I had evidences. I even brought it when I was... So that's why when I said my divorce was easy, it was quick. Because
you had proof.
A lot. Though I didn't have to bring it to court, but... When I was even talking, they knew that this had to be quick. This had to be quick. The lawyer just said, this marriage has broken up, inseparable. It's not possible to come together again. The only issue we might have here is custody. But when they considered the ages of the children, it was quick for them to give me custody of the children. Kids. And then, before then, I'd lived 3 years with the children and I was solely responsible. So they knew I was capable of taking care of my kids. So He would throw my things out. He would beat me. He would threaten me, isolate me from children. But there was one that broke the camel's back. That was in 2019. I was pregnant again. You know, I always space my children. They were like three years in between them. But somehow, I will shall get pregnant even when I'm not interested in the pregnancy.
Right.
Because after my third child, I thought I was done. But when I became pregnant for the twins, I wasn't happy. But I'm so excited about them now.
Of course.
But because I knew I was living in abuse, I wasn't a happy woman. So how do I keep birthing children and birthing children in a toxic environment?
Right.
So for 7 months, I didn't even visit the clinic.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
My first antenatal was in 7 months. And that's when I discovered that I was
Yeah,
carrying
twins.
twin babies.
Wow.
And so I was not interested in life anymore. It isolated me from family, from friends. We would always go to church only on Sundays at this time. And I was a leader in church. So I now found...
And church never
they
paused
knew,
to
they
say
called
what's
us
going on.
occasionally they know. Because occasionally I would go to church. I was always reporting. That was the only
okay.
place I reported
You
to
could-
at this point in time. I'll call my pastor. So my pastors knew I was in abuse. But like they would say, the last statement my pastor made was, thank God you took that decision because no one would have told you to leave your marriage. They
That's
wanted
true.
me to leave, but they could not tell me in quotes because they were pastors. But I feel it's a very dangerous stand.
It
actually.
is.
Yes, because if I had died, I would
It's
be
done.
part of the statistics of women
That
who
is
died
it.
in abuse.
Yes.
And then probably they will live with the guilt. They wanted to tell me, but they were like...
didn't just want to be the ones to say it.
preempt. They didn't want
As
to
it is
like,
against
you know,
religion in quotes.
and then after that first leaving, I tried to leave severally. My husband would beat me back home. He beats me like a baby. Yes, I was running a school. I was running a paid school too in E02. I ran that school for 7 years. My staffs knew I was in abuse. So I'd lost myself. I'd lost my self-esteem. I was living in depression. When she was saying that she didn't know what was wrong with her, I was smiling because I didn't know what was wrong with me. When I left my marriage, if you look at my pictures and now, you think I was living with HIV full blown.
Oh,
Like
wow.
you'll be old, you'll be looking older than your
No,
age.
this is not about being old. This is about me looking
Being
like a
sick.
skeleton.
Yes.
Yes.
You're in my shape.
So on this faithful day, I attend when women pray. So I started attending in Yenegua. I was part of their pioneer members then in Yenegua. So they knew in the fellowship because he would trail me. He would come to the fellowship and harass me. I've warned you.
Wow.
When people go for fellowship, you go to gossip your husbands. Yes, he feels that anywhere women gather, we're going
It's
to
about them.
And that's one thing about those who are narcissists. Insecurity.
Yeah.
They feel anytime you are with somebody, you are discussing them.
about it.
Even when you're not talking about them. So he would trail me. Everybody was afraid of him. People are always afraid for me. I can't go out. So when I'm leaving the office, I will have to tell my staffs I'm going to the Ministry of Education. Meanwhile, I'm going to the fellowship. But he already knows. He knows that I'm not going to the Ministry of Education. So when he comes to he was an engineer. He's into building. He didn't practice what he read in school. So he will come to the school and say, where is madam? He'll say, she has gone to the ministry. We smile.
Because he knows.
He will drive down to the fellowship and he will find me there. Because he knows that's the only thing that gives me joy. Then he will harass me. I will have to go back home. A lot of things happened that I couldn't bear, but I was just enduring. Sometimes I'll be walking on the road. I want to walk into a moving trailer. I feel like just dying. Yes.
Oh my
I really
goodness.
got depressed to the extent that I was looking for answers in places that I shouldn't get
Wrong
answers.
places.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
I was always on my phone. Like she said, I wasn't ready to clean the house. Some days, I don't feel like taking a bath.
Yes.
Yes. I don't feel like
Yes.
having a bath. If I'm at home, I can be there from morning to night at a particular spot.
Yes.
I lost meaning to life and purpose. But I was doing what people, I was a shining star.
Exactly.
Anywhere people see
Oh
me,
my goodness.
I can't hide. There must be something about me that people
yeah.
want
That to make people
tap,
spot
you know?
you out. Yes.
But then I'd lost myself. People would keep encouraging me. All the women in my church knew. I wasn't telling them. But they would say, because sometimes my eyes will be swollen. Sometimes I'll be carrying a red eyes. Sometimes there's mark on my face. On this fateful day, I went to fellowship again. I had 3 at that time. I was pregnant. I wasn't interested in, at a point, so I had 3 girls. I would think maybe he wanted a male child by all means. But then I wasn't considering getting pregnant. But because but the pregnancy was by force.
Wow.
There was a day he beat me up in the room. I fainted. You know when you faint and resurrect? I fainted. He locked me in that room when we were living in a 3-bedroom flat. And let me say that this guy, I got married to him in a 1 room. He had nothing. So it wasn't that I got married because of what I could get. I gave him the first money he used in buying the first land. The house we lived in before I moved in.
Your parents even did well. Because
I
like you
gave
said,
him-
your dad was a director.
My father was the one who virtually paid for everything during our wedding. So I can't say the only thing he bought was my wedding gown. My box had nothing. He put his sister's box in my box and locked it up. And I still covered it.
Oh,
He didn't buy anything. So sometimes when you enable men, allow them, you are giving them yes, some kind of power that you might eventually regret it. Because I feel if I gave him the opportunity to be responsible
man.
at the beginning,
Yes.
and then I was covering up. My mom wouldn't want me to feel it. She would say, you were a church girl. You were not supposed to get into this kind of relationship. If I need anything, she sends me money.
Oh.
If I need anything, she sends me money. You know, they were always giving me money. So my children's clothing, my mom was having a clothing store in Tejo Show Market. So before December, she would have sent like 5 pairs, you know. So you won't even know my husband wasn't doing anything. He had money, not that he wasn't working.
But it wasn't for
but
you
it
people.
wasn't catering for the home in any way. I will be food. And then when I give birth, my mom, trust Lagos mothers. She will shop from Lagos and Weibill.
Since she cannot come.
Everything I needed was there, you know. It was a cry in her heart, but there was nothing she could
Yeah.
do. She needed to make me happy because she knew I wasn't happy. So it got to a point where I went to fellowship that day and he got to know. He came to fellowship just to be sure. He saw me and he walked out. And everybody in my fellowship was mourning, you're in trouble. I said, yes, I know I'm in trouble. Everybody knew. And so I rushed home, but he got home before me. There were times he would be driving in the car, he would park, pull me out of the car and drive off, whether I have money or not. Oh. I saw things. I usually tell people that if I begin to write a book about my abuse, it will not finish. And so I got home. Before I got home, I was already 7 months pregnant. And he was already aware. He knew I was carrying twins. It was a high-risk pregnancy because I had edema. I had pregnancy-induced hypertension. So it was already high-risk pregnancy. At that 7 months, I would say, he had forcefully slept with me and I started spotting. So sometimes I will have like I want to, I was having
Like contractions.
threatened labor.
Yes.
I was having threatened labor at that time. So when I got back, I got to the gate. My children were at the burglary. I said, I wanted to come in. They said, Daddy has changed the locks. Because I tried using my key.
After you got back from fellowship?
Yes. He changed the padlock at the main gate. He changed the padlock at the burglary. So I tried. I said, let me even scale at least to enter into the compound.
With your pregnancy?
Yes. But I looked at it. If I scale, I can die here. So I just thought of it. I said, okay, I have an office. I went back. The school wasn't too far from home. I went back to the school to stay. I said, pleading. Like you said, your friend sent you one message. I quoted scriptures. I told him you are the best thing that happened to me as a husband.
Wow.
I begged him. I said, I'm the Bible wife. You have always looked up to God. Oh. I did all sorts, but it didn't yield. 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., school, all my staff slept. And so, they go outside, they come. They already knew something
Oh,
wrong.
my goodness.
And they come. There was a little, one of my staffs that stay close. So she already knew that. She said, Uncle, don't start again. I said, no worry. And they come. I was in school till 12 a.m. in the night. Yes. Now, the school was on the road. Anything can happen. So, and on that road, they usually go and, like, there's a quarry there. So people usually go and take sand. So a tipper usually lost break. We were even considering moving the school from that spot because of...
It was not safe.
Yes, we felt it wasn't safe. So anything could have happened that night. Then, also, that place was a place where they do... I was in Yenagoa. I was in a part in Yenagoa where they usually do bunkering. So a lot of things happen at night.
Wow.
There. So the risk was high. So when I was about to sleep, when I said it was 12 midnight, I called the guy. I said, please, forgive me. I promise you, I will not go to fellowship again. I didn't go to a shrine. I didn't go to do something negative. I went to. So, but he refused. And so I slept on the floor with my pregnancy, 7 months, an interlocked floor in my office. I was just there. There was nothing to put on the ground. There was nothing in my office to put on the ground. Because it was a growing school, though I was doing well, but it wasn't, I'm not talking about international, so I'm not talking about, so it was a growing school, but I was okay, I was doing well. And so at 2 a.m., he called, and you can come home. And I was excited. I said, but on one condition, you will come and pick me. One, I'm pregnant. Anything
Well,
can
how
happen
how would I
between
go home from
that
here?
place, though it's not too far, but anything can happen between that place and my going back home. Secondly, what if I'm attacked on the way? Come and pick me. He said he's not going to pick me. I should come home. If I know I can't come, okay, send somebody. At least we have vigilantes around. He said, if you want to come home, I've told you. I think he was doing that to tell people he told me to come back home. But that was 2 a.m.
Wow.
And so I made up my mind. I wasn't going home. And I had made up my mind. That was the end of the abuse.
Wow.
That was when I made up my mind. Like I usually tell people, until somebody makes up a mind to leave abuse, you cannot leave.
You cannot leave.
Because before
Exactly.
then, people have begged me to leave. Leave, money. You are somebody that can do a lot of things with your hand. You will not suffer. Even when I had 1, they told me to leave, I didn't leave. 2, they told me to leave, I didn't leave. 3, they told me to leave, I didn't leave. Now I was carrying twins
What made you stay?
because of my children. I stayed because of my children. I didn't want. Then I was a Christian. What would people say?
Let's touch
What
on
would
it.
society say? So now, if I begin to read the profile, it's you might have a little understanding. I was a pastor
Yes.
as a copper. Everywhere I went, I was
You were
always
spiritual head.
I was always taking
A
the
star.
lead. I was always taking the lead. So a lot of people were actually looking
Up to you.
up to me. I didn't want to disappoint them.
God.
You know, those who heard for the first time that I left my marriage heard on my 40th birthday. A lot of persons didn't know.
And this was
After
how
4
many years
4
after
years
you had
after.
left?
And I was silent about it. But I told myself, it's time to speak up. Why? There are a lot of women like me who don't have the courage, who are godly, who are church people, who are maybe religious, who feel
Yes.
the society defines them.
Right.
And I needed to break the silence on that part that the society does not define you.
That's right.
And so that day,
Yes.
I woke up in the morning from school. My staffs came to school.
I
My
met you there.
My students came to school and saw me wearing the same clothes I wore yesterday. So they knew, obviously, I slept in school. Even though I pretended I didn't
All
sleep in
was
school.
well.
But I had never come to school that way before. And so immediately I left school, went to my pastor's office and told him, this time I need to leave. I don't care what anybody is saying. And as usual, they pleaded with me. Called him. In fact, my pastor told him, I'm a boxer. I will box you. Go and box your friends. Stop boxing, intimidating this lady, this, that. Like, but it wasn't enough. Don't beat her. I gave you beat her. We arrest you. But they begged me again. And
To
I
go
went
back. You
I
went back. You
I
went back.
That was 7 months pregnancy. I had my twins. I stayed for 1 year. Wow. I left when my twins were 1 year, 2 months. My twins are 5 years and some months. Now they'll be 6.
When you went back, how was it? Any change, or it was
I
still
went
on
back
my
to
right?
strategize. I went back because I'd left in my mind.
So you had left
No, I'd left in my
that
mind.
morning.
That morning, even though my pastor told me to go back, I was going back to strategize. I was going back to think
To
about
plan,
what would I do when I leave. And then I intensified my efforts to find out a way to live without causing a sin. And that was when I met
Amazing.
that lady on Facebook
Yes.
who told me about the support group, where I saw that there were over 256 women facing abuse on that group. And there were some that left. There were some still in the abuse. There were some planning to leave. And one of the things they do on that support group is, if you really want to leave, they don't force you to leave. They help you strategize on how to live. They educate you,
Yes.
give you all the resources you need that will help you live. And I can tell you, a lot of women, one of them just ended a PhD recently, and I saw her recently, and I'm like, you're doing well. A lot of women who have left on that group, that's why you need a support group.
Yes.
They are
Yes.
doing well because there's support. And one support I had support from my family. My family was a strong support system. Though along the way, my dad died. And when my dad died, the abuse became more intense because now it was just women affairs. We're all girls in my family. My mom was there. There's no uncle, there's no brother. So it was really intimidating us. And not that I had money. It wasn't money. So I don't even know what kept me there. Maybe love.
So
Maybe what? No, I know what society would say.
It's a major
Then my
part of it.
children.
Yes.
I didn't want my children because I'm an educator. I felt I forgot that if my children grew up in a toxic environment, it will affect them. I was only looking at the aspect. I didn't want my children to come from a single parent home.
yes, they should have a
you
father
know.
and a mother.
So eventually, I started planning, and COVID happened. And then the abuse was tough. It was, we had to stay at home together 24 hours. Now there was nowhere to go to. But that was the period I fainted and he locked me in a room, slept somewhere else, and I woke up again.
I'm sorry? Explain.
He beat me up because of sex.
Oh.
Because I was struggling, I didn't want to have sex.
Yes.
He pieces my underwears. After that, I fainted. I didn't know what happened. Maybe after some hours, I woke up again. But then he had left the room and gone to another room to sleep. He didn't mind if I died.
And locked you?
Yes, if I died. So when I gained consciousness, I realized I was locked in the room. And so nothing changed actually, because all the while I was already planning. So when COVID happened, we moved some of the things in school home because somehow we're not sure of the security of the school. So now COVID was over. We're supposed to move things back. I had planned my leaving. So I moved 2 bags of my items with the school things.
With the school items.
To the school. And I called someone who was not even my staff, because my husband had a lot of eyes everywhere. So when I'm taking a move, they know. When he's even out of town and I move, your wife don't go so place.
People were telling him?
Yes, he had money. He knew what he was doing. So he was monitoring me everywhere.
Oh, wow.
They knew where I was going part time. I'll just get someone say, where they go, madam? I go say, I want to go buy something. They will say, you don't go buy something.
Wow.
Someone will even throw me and say, this is where she had gone to. My environment, everybody knew I was abused, but there was nothing they could do. Friends could not visit me, but friends could visit him and will abort them. But if anybody has to visit me out of town, I will have to go and pay for their hotel and lodge them. Yes. So on this fateful day, I called somebody who was not even my staff. And then I was running the foundation. But it wasn't this. I was just doing advocacy, sensitization for secondary school pupils in E02 at that time. So the guy who was working with me, I just called him. I said, meet me in school. I didn't lock the doors. Bring a vehicle, pick my 2 bags. I described the bag. Take it to the camp, to the park. Take it to Abuja Park. Tell them you're doing a way bill. You pick it up tomorrow. Or I told him to put my sister's number. My sister lives in Abuja. She will pick it up. But my plan was to actually pick it up myself. But he did that. In the morning, I just picked a bag containing my certificates. Only took my 5 kids and headed for the park.
He had gone out?
He had traveled. Somehow, God arranged it. He traveled to Port Harcourt that morning. The previous day. So that was why I could even tell the guy to, because he's always in school. He would say, school is about to resume. We are preparing. It's my school. I'm the one that built it. But today, he claimed that he's the one, but no problem. Wow. We want to do this in school. We want to renovate. He was so excited about the school and all that. So I got to as I was heading out, somebody said, man, where they go? Is it not too early? I said, yes. Would they go early morning prayer? We went for early morning prayer, but I was on my way to Abuja.
What a life.
And that was how I took a cab. I cried my way from E02 to Abuja because I was nursing twins and I had 3 toddlers. I think my senior daughter she's 13 now. Then I think she was 9 at that time. The other was 7, the other was 5. So I had 3 children and 2 babies. And we had finished exclusive breastfeeding, but COVID had happened. Nobody really had money. So immediately I said I was leaving. My younger sister is in the US. She sent me money for transportation. She sent money to my other sister, rent her a place. This is what we have been praying for.
Wow.
And so that was the first support. To
think that you had always had this support on standby.
I had it, but I wasn't ready.
But you weren't willing to take it.
Marriage is for life. I'm ready to die there. I was telling them, and my marriage will work. It's for better, for worse.
As if.
I don't want to disappoint God. The Bible, Proverbs 31 woman. I was always ready to quote scriptures.
Oh my goodness.
So eventually.
How has it been for you since you left? We're short on time.
Okay.
So that's why I'm sorry I have to. Yeah. I want to hear everything, and I'm sure everybody wants to hear everything.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have to move on.
Okay.
Post leaving.
Okay. So I would say,
how has your life been?
So I would say that when I left, it wasn't all rosy. So the first year was challenging, but because I was someone who constantly worked with my hands, I was here and there. So immediately I left and came to Abuja. It was beginning of section. I had a lot of publishers. I had their contacts. So the first thing I did in Abuja was supply books to schools. Oh, wow. So the kind of books we were using in E02, I discovered that they were unique. We're using Showers Publishers. A lot of schools in Abuja were using it, and it was a good book. So I supplied to a number of schools. I made good money.
Wow.
Yes. So it wasn't difficult paying tuition, though my family was still on. Then my mom was also in the US at that time. She wasn't working, but she was already on pension.
support.
So her ATM card was with me. So on a standby every month,
amazing.
I would just go and withdraw our pensions and use as general upkeep for the children.
Wow.
So I had a standby amount I was using every month. Even my siblings didn't know. They've probably been hearing that I had mommy's ATM now.
I see.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
But my mom was, because she at the point, she was feeling bad too. Because after my
She
introduction,
contributed.
yes, because after my introduction, I went to her and said, Mommy, I really want to break this relationship. She was like, hey, how will it be? Don't set a negative perspective for the family. You are the first to get married and all that. So at the point too, she was feeling bad.
Like she
Though
led
it wasn't
you-
her fault, it was
Of
not my
course,
fault
of
because
course.
the decision was in my hand, not in the hand of anybody.
You're right.
Nobody forced me into the marriage. I took that decision. Even when
And the
people were
intention
trying-
was good
Yes,
from
even
their
when people
end.
were trying to say he's a good guy, if I stood my ground, I wouldn't
Yes.
get to it.
Yes.
So I would take the blame for going into that marriage. So eventually, I lost my thoughts.
You're talking about
so
how
I
things
started
picked up. So
working,
you did the distribution.
supplying books. I started making face masks. I sew. I do a lot of things. I bake. So I started doing baking, catering. I did a lot. Then I could balance. And one of those days, I like putting smiles on the faces of young people. I went for sensitization at the IDP camp. I'm also a sexual reproductive expert. So I talk about menstrual health.
Did this become after that experience or before?
No, I'd always done it all along.
Oh, okay.
When I started the NGO.
Okay.
So I wanted to teach the girls at the IDP camp how to make reusable sanitary pads.
Nice. Yes.
So that was when I discovered that for 7 years, there was no school at the IDP camp. And so the educator in me came alive and I was like, what can I give back to society? These children have faced trauma, experiencing the
What they
insurgency.
did, yes.
So if I faced it, I experienced it, there should be something I could do to put smiles on the faces of these children. So I carried out the research I needed to carry out. They gave me a space at the camp and I built the first 2 classrooms.
You what?
I built the first. Though I was going through pains myself, but I wanted to use what I could give back to society to heal.
Yes.
That was
Because I
my
was
way
going
of
to say,
healing.
did it help heal you?
It helped me a lot because when I now began the school, every time I see these kids,
There was something to be
I
happy
knew that there
about.
was more to life. I began to understand that, there was more. The pain I experienced in the past was God launching me
into
into purpose, actually.
Yes.
Because I feel that the school I'm running today, if I didn't leave that abuse, I wouldn't be
You
running
wouldn't have
school.
done it.
And putting the smiles on 150 children's face, I wouldn't be doing it today.
So there is a life after abuse.
So even beyond the 150 children, you need to come to the IDP camp. If I enter the camp, you think the president has entered. The excitement on the faces of the women, the excitement on the
wow.
faces of the children, and I'm so happy. There's joy.
So
Every time
there's joy
there
eventually.
is joy.
For me, that's like a point of
There's
emphasis
joy.
to know that after abuse,
There's joy.
regardless of wanting to walk in front of a car and get knocked down and want to take your life or feeling like ending it or not caring
Yeah,
what happens
there's
to
joy.
you, it is possible to get to the place where you feel like there's something to live for again
Yes.
and be happy about that.
I'm so happy about my life now. I'm like, this is what, and I didn't even say that after graduating from my master's, it didn't allow me to take that result. I just picked up that result after 11 years.
Eh, Wow.
Yes, and I did that, I think, in 2023, January, after 11 years. Because every time I want to do it, let's use the money for this. Let's use the money for this. Let's use the money. He didn't want me to just get it. But I'm excited that I was able to move on. I have my life back. And
In
I don't
full and
look
much
like
more.
it.
At all, oh.
Except I say I'm a single mom of 5, fully responsible for them. You cannot
Fully
believe.
responsible
I'm fully
for
responsible.
them.
My daughter is writing WAEC this year. I asked him for the WAEC fee and he said the official WAEC fee is 27,000. I don't know where that happens in Abuja. The fee was 150 for WAEC and NECO. He says 27,000. You are trying to rip me off. And I counted my money and paid. Like
Did he
before,
give
you
the
will not even pay.
27K?
I don't even need this 27.
Of course.
It's not
wow.
bragging. It's not bragging.
It is
but
what it
like
is.
anything. And recently he
is
said
what
to
it
his
is.
kids, he said, your mom has been in Abuja for almost 4 years now. I just came because he has trailed me again. I didn't talk about the part that I moved to 3 cities in 3 years.
Because of him.
He was trailing me. So I will leave here this year. when he knows my house, because I was still afraid. You can live abuse and still be afraid.
That's a good point.
I will move to another city. If he knows the place, I will move. So that's how I moved to 3 cities. And finally, when I moved to Cuba, I told myself, enough is enough. I can't keep moving like a fugitive. And so I went to NAPTI. I did a lot of documentation. I started my divorce process. And because they told me at NAPTI that it's only the law that can save me. They told me at NAPTI that once...
Shout out to NAPTIP. I mean, both of you have mentioned
Yes,
NAPTIP.
they told me.
So it means
That was
that they're
when
really
I got the courage.
active.
Yeah.
I got
very
the and I
active.
also got support because my legal process too was pro bono, was 0 costs.
Oh, wow.
At 0 costs. And it was as short, as quick as possible. I would say that God has blessed me with the gift of men.
Amen.
Because along the way, and I feel it's because God saw the trauma and the abuse I've been through. And he knew that he needed to help me. Every time I'm in a fix, God was always sending someone to help me out. And that's why I'm excited to give back to society
Amen.
too. Yes, because I feel that if people gave back to me in pain, I should be able to give back to children. This year, I translated 10 children on full scholarship to secondary school. Yes.
You are doing so good.
So,
Mommy, thank you so much for sharing. Esther, thank you too. But let me come to Victoria. Tell us the role of education in helping this present generation and the next in being able to fight against this menace.
It's huge. It's huge. And I think as educators, especially school owners, school leaders, heads of schools, teachers, but to a lesser degree, we have such a huge opportunity, more so than others even. Just as, churches are complicit in this, I think schools are also complicit. And I'll tell you why. Because as schools, we have the opportunity to, number one, break the silence.
Yes.
So how many schools have you seen, for example, taking part in this 16 days of activism?
You're right.
We will celebrate Book Day. We will celebrate inter-house sports. We will celebrate Christmas we should.
Yes. Yeah.
But why do we not focus on these kinds of issues?
Right.
And we have the power to do that. It's not just up to Ministry of Education or Department of Quality and Assurance. We have the opportunity within our school communities to change the narrative internally with our children, with through the curriculum, ensuring that we have a value-laden curriculum. And I think parents are part of the school community as well.
Yes.
So it's a two-way street. When you have parents that are constantly focusing on how many A's, how many A stars, how many A pluses, and ignoring other aspects of the curriculum, I'm afraid to say this is the end result. When you don't focus on a value-laden curriculum, when you don't focus on character development, when you don't focus on life skills. Because a lot of these things in a practical sense are a failure to understand simple conflict resolution.
very
True that.
Which is a very basic life skill.
Yes.
Simple emotional regulation, self-regulation.
Self-regulation. That's
So
it.
even when you have parents who, parents should be teaching their children these things, we now know that there is no more village to raise a child. The village is now the church, but to a large extent, the school.
cool too.
That's right.
So the school
That's
is in a
right.
unique position, not just to frame the social emotional learning curriculum, the focus on values and character development, skills and competencies,
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
But we also have the opportunity to educate parents. Parental engagement is not simply, the parent is my customer.
That's
It
right.
goes much further than that.
That's right.
You have the opportunity to influence what the parent thinks is important in raising a 21st
So
century
you're
child.
educating the parent as well.
You are educating the parent as well. That's our new role. And it's like, how many things we do? Everything school. It's not a money-making franchise. It's a core part
say that
of
again.
the community.
Right.
That is the nature of the job. If you can't handle it, find another business to do. But this is the call of educators. This is the call of school leaders. Instead of thinking of, let's just, focusing on very superficial things. This is an
Yes.
opportunity to educate the children, educate even the staff, educate your teachers, and educate the parents. Help them discuss this in a way that focuses on rights, rights, responsibilities, and positive role modeling.
Right.
Because that might be the only time that they get to discuss it in school. That might be the only time where they get to realize, oh, hold on. So you mean this is not normal?
Exactly.
Yes.
Because some kids might be experiencing this in their environment, for example.
Of course.
And it will be the norm.
Yes.
And it affects the children.
Of course.
Absolutely.
So when they hear
Yes.
a different form of education
Absolutely.
that is contrary to their experience, then they know there's something that is off.
It challenges that narrative. And some people say, oh, remember my child, can't happen to me, God forbid. But what is your child also seeing on TV? That's all part of the
Because
child's
all
education. So if they're not learning it
All
from
education.
your first-hand experience, modeling at home where they're seeing dad hitting mom
You
or
are
mom
right.
verbally abusing
Yes.
dad, they're also seeing it in the media.
That's right.
It's all over the media. So if parents, we can't leave it all to parents because we know now parents are working round the clock, chasing money to pay school fees. So the least we
sustain
can
the
do is to
lifestyle.
help them to support that narrative and say, listen, this is in a healthy relationship, starting from, and I don't just mean some superficial assembly once in the school year, please.
Right.
We need to move away from
Very,
that.
very
But we
true.
need to look at a full wraparound system where it starts from children that are 4 years old.
Like you said, part of the curriculum.
Part of the curriculum, yes, factor it into the curriculum, factor it into your visible learning around the school, factor it into your extracurricular activities, but also make sure that it's not because children nowadays have access to the internet. So you can't fool these children. This is not the generation of children that don't know these things. So you have to get it early enough from the age of 4 when they're starting to understand, I'm a boy, you're a girl.
Exactly.
Boys don't do this.
Right.
Nip the bud on such conversations
Yes.
in your classrooms when you have teachers who are saying, you're a girl, so you can't do this. It's only for a boy.
Which still happens, by the way.
Of course, it still
Right.
happens. It still happens. So you need to make sure that as a school, you really reflect on your practice. What messages are we sending in the classroom in the way? Because sometimes even the teachers, even the staff, even the school leaders will bring this into the classrooms inadvertently, not really thinking consciously about how they're making it okay.
Yes. For
the
certain
boys
things to happen.
to gather and make the girl feel. That's where those seeds are planted. These men don't become these monsters
It doesn't just
overnight.
start overnight.
It doesn't happen
It builds
overnight.
up.
Yeah.
Let me even say something in line with education. So this is even as regards, because, I think it was Esther who mentioned that some men also get abused.
Absolutely.
Right? So my
Absolutely.
son, he's 8. And so this year he didn't say much about it, but he mentioned it recently in the conversation. And last year he would say that, and he said it more than once, that he doesn't understand why it's okay for the girls in class to hit them and nothing is done. But every time they hit back, then they are wrong.
This is so
he
important.
has said it more than once. It is still something he
Absolutely.
doesn't still understand. And recently,
Absolutely.
we're talking about something and he says, that's one thing that I do not like. And he was referring again to the fact that ladies seem to have this preferential, they can do bad and get away with it.
Can I say
it's
God
okay to
bless
abuse
you?
them.
Can I say God bless you?
Amen.
This is so important
Yes.
because I always, as a teacher in the classroom myself, I always say I don't tell teachers to do anything that I don't do because I've been there, I've walked the walk, I've taught for
Right.
years. So I always tell the girls in the classroom, don't come and report that he hit you. We need to start from you.
What
Stop.
did you do?
Look at your head. Hey! If you don't want him to talk to you that way, sorry.
Then do
darling.
not do the same. She took it.
If you don't want him to treat you that way, don't do it to him because what you're doing a little bit, the boy is going to do with manpower.
Yes.
Exactly.
And you will not like
And
it.
you will not like
and we
it.
need to be careful to make sure that our girls also don't get this narrative wrong.
That they are, yes.
That and
They're
a lot of people,
victims or
yes,
they're at the
victims.
advantage.
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and
to
get
do
away
and
with
get away
it.
with it.
Exactly.
All of us need to be held accountable for our conduct
behavior.
in a healthy relationship.
That's it.
And that's what you need to train them up with
That's it.
so that becomes a neo culture, a counter culture.
Yes. So
You
you're
know?
teaching kindness across board.
Kindness,
Consideration across board. Not
role
just
modeling.
It's not in a different level for the male and a different level for the female. You know?
Exactly. And from the young children, like I said, 4-5-year-olds, all the way up to much more complex relationships in their teens.
That's right.
You know, so that it starts from a very early age of them understanding, okay, I need to respect the fact that we're different. She's a girl, I'm a boy, but we still need to treat each other with respect.
Exactly.
She can't do certain things that I might be able to do, but that's okay. It doesn't mean I need to respect her less. It doesn't mean she can't do science.
Exactly.
You know, those kind of unhealthy things,
yes.
you know, they build up eventually to, like you said, both of you, incidentally, I want to point something really important out. They were both your course mates or classmates.
Yes.
Exactly.
So this is not some strange when you grew up in the same
Environment.
And secondly, contrary to what a lot of people say, you dated for years.
Yes.
Because people make it seem as if, it's those people that they want to quickly get married. And then there's the role of counseling, guidance and counseling. Counseling in the church, therapy in the community. We need to demystify these things and make it okay for our children and our adults to know that before you get into a serious relationship, you need to understand what the consequences are. You need to understand that no means no. There's a place to consent.
Yes.
You need to understand that physical or verbal abuse has no place in the relationship, will not be tolerated. You will be prosecuted and they will throw away the keys.
Simple.
So that conversation needs to be happening throughout our homes, our education system. That is how you break the silence, because this gender-based violence thrives under silence.
Yes.
These men, even though they sound like monsters now, they're your brothers. They're your friends. They're your colleagues.
Church members.
Neighbors.
But they're in your life.
Once there's
Pastors.
a culture of silence.
That's it.
So instead of thinking that you're helping the man by maintaining that code of silence, realize that you might be helping him
by exposing him.
Get the help that he needs by exposing that this is what's happening. And also preventing him from being hanged as a criminal for killing somebody else's child.
So it's a form of help at the end of the day. It's both ways. So saying that you're silent, you're doing it all for the peace and quiet, for the children. And like, we said earlier, if you decide to even condone abuse, it's a form of being selfish. That's how I see it. That's what I say. I get to counsel people as well. And that's how I see it at the end of the day. Because if you say you're doing it because of the kids, you're allowing them go in a toxic environment. There is no way they'll be normal children. They would be healthy the way you want them to be. Because you're having an abusive father as their father. You might want them to have a father, but they don't have a father. They have an abuser as their father or their mother, just on the other side, And you're also not being fair to the man. I mean, imagine that this man of yours, this ex-husband of yours, ends up with another woman. He's the same person.
Yeah.
So he most likely is going
the same
to
thing.
do the same thing to someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is what needs to be stopped.
Yeah.
So they also need help.
Yes, they do.
And part of how we help is by exposing it.
Yes.
Very true.
Yeah.
It might seem like it's a radical way, but it's a good way, and you're helping other people.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. We can continue this for the next 2 hours. I can beat my chest to say this can go on. Esther, let me come to you. What's next for you? Let me just touch on you, and then you can also give your final words.
Okay.
Moni, you'll do that as well.
All right. Yeah. What's next for me is very soon I will leave the house because just as he has pointed out, in as much as last week Sunday, he came to tell me that I think it's high time that we should go for separation for 6 or 1 year.
Okay.
Yes, he pinpoints that out. I did not even responded because I've already made up my mind for.
You're not really.
Yes, I don't need.
Maybe to be.
I don't need that marriage because I don't have peace. Like I've been humiliated, I've been mocked, And my last word to everyone out there is this: domestic violence, like overcoming it, is a complex journey.
Yeah.
But it takes a whole lot for you to do that. And you just have to set up your mind to know that you are in an abusive marriage, you understand? And it connotes a lot of things. Like it's either it's not only physical, it could be abuse, it could be emotional, it could be psychological, it could be financial, it could be sexual as well. So it's except you know, then you'll be able to overcome it. Else you just be there stuck, and you may think, just as you've been pointed, that you may think you want peace, you just don't want to say it out. You are not helping out.
Yes.
For us to come out and say our experience here, it's not that we hate the person or any other thing. You understand?
Yes.
And it's not that we bear any grudges or to tarnish anyone's image, no.
Beautiful.
But it's just to make the society to be a better place for everyone.
You're right.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Miss Esther, for doing this. Moni,
Thank you.
final words?
My final words would be that first, you must understand, like you said, that you are in abuse, and understand the kind of person you are dealing with. When you understand the person you are dealing with, be ready. If you are not ready, nobody can be ready for you. As a woman, the first thing is not about money. The first thing is not about where I will go. The first thing is your mind. Are you ready to take that decision? Because if you're not ready, when you leave and they give you the millions in the world, you will go back to that abuse.
That's
right.
So
be ready. Once you are ready as a woman, help will come. It might not be a smooth journey. Like I said, mine was not a smooth journey. It might be challenging, but I tell you, God will always come through for you. As long as you're ready, speak to people, be quick to share, and know that you are speaking to the right people. Don't just speak randomly to just everybody.
Yes.
Be sure of the kind of person you are talking to. Open up to people. Once you are able to open up to people, help will come. But if you don't open up, no one will be able to help you. But once you open up to people, help will come in ways that you cannot imagine. It's been 4 years, but I can say this 4 years compared to the last 10 years of my life, this has been the best 4 years of my life. And I'm not stagnant. Is it 2023? 2024, this year, March, I was recognized as one of the 50 African women in development by Donors for Africa Foundation. Yes. I'm not stagnant. Yes, I'm not where I used to be. The things that he had told me I will never become. People will never hear your voice. You will die in silence.
Wow.
People are hearing my voice. People are excited about the things I do. And every time people come to the school, they are like, you are doing this without support of government or anybody. I say, yes, I'm doing it. And I'm excited because I made the move. If you can make the move, help will come. Thank you.
Thank you. Moni, I'm sorry. I'm going to jump backwards because it's just still in my head.
Okay.
So you said when you were in labor,
yes,
this man would abuse you from saying things like what?
Okay. You can tell me I'm barking like a dog. Are you the only woman in this place? Other women are here. You are the only one barking like a dog. You are wicked. It's your wickedness that is making you have pains like this. Other women will come in. And meanwhile, I just go in. My labor can just be like, if I enter the labor ward itself, by God's grace, maybe 1 hour, I'm out with the baby. For example, when I wanted to deliver the twins, I told the nurses that the baby was coming. They didn't believe. Because I was on my phone all through.
You had them naturally?
Yes.
They came out one after the other?
Yes.
My goodness.
In 5 minutes. 5 minutes interval. I was on my phone. So when I was telling the matron, baby is coming, she didn't believe. Until the first one came out, they had to dive to pick her.
Wow.
In fact, the doctor who attended to me is just like father. He was so angry with me, like, you want to kill yourself after two weeks of membrane sweep. So when I got to the hospital, he dropped me. I begged him. I told him, I'm not angry, because I was already planning my exit at that time. I said, I just want to go and take care of the children at home, the other children at home.
You gave him good reason.
Just please. So I went to the hospital. I delivered. And in the morning, I'd called my church member, I delivered. He was angry again. So I don't know how to cook. So you want them to bring food for you?
He expected you to go back to cooking.
Yes.
You were saying the following day you're carrying buckets and doing everything.
That's what happened. Because everybody that came, I had to beg them to go back.
Wow.
Yes, I had to beg them to go back. When I had the twins, there was still drama. I had to beg them to go back home because one of my pastor had to just beg money for peace sake and for your sanity. Tell these people to go back home. You go and take care of yourself as usual. So she followed me home in disguise to let those people know that somebody was following me. Because she knows us so well. She's a pastor. She knows us very well. And she knew there was going to be trouble if somebody follows me home. Wow. So she followed us home. As she got to my house, she turned back. So I started taking care of myself that day. Now, his younger sisters came, though they are stepsisters. He expected me that just gave birth to twins to go and cook for them. And because I said I wasn't going to cook for them, they should enter the kitchen and cook for themselves. It was another
Let me stop you. Say this thing. It won't finish.
It did not
We
finish.
await your book. For real.
Honestly.
We await your book, Moni.
I will have to write it.
You have to.
I will have to write it.
We need it. God bless you.
Sincerely.
Thank you so much for being here. I'll let you round up. I know that you said a number of things, but just in case you have anything else to add. Sorry about this. I mean, we were in good positive spirit and I took it right back. I'm so sorry. It just didn't leave my mind since you said it during the break. So
There's
Wow.
life after. I think that's one of the things that we get from Moni's story. There's life after. There's healing. It's possible even for him to get help as well.
Yes.
I hope he
happens.
realizes that.
It happens that it can happen if the person gets the
He's
right
willing.
help.
And if
He's willing as well.
That's it.
because he doesn't even know there's a problem.
If he's willing as well, that even marriages like that can be helped, can be healed, can be redeemed. But please don't die to find out.
Thank
Don't
you.
die to find, because it can and it does happen unexpectedly, unintendedly at the end of the day. But we must all work together. We applaud you. Thank you so much, our lovely hosts.
Thank you.
We applaud
all
you.
make this what it is.
You are
honestly.
breaking the silence.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we
Thank you
all
so
need to do. Not just once a year, but in our daily lives.
Yes.
Be kind to people also who are going through this. It's hard, it's complex, like you said.
Yes.
So be patient with them until they get the strength to leave.
Right.
Be sensitive, be kind, and let's have the conversations often in our schools, in our churches, in our families, so we demystify
Demystify.
the abuse.
Thank you so much. And for me, I mean, these final words are all my final words. I don't have any other final word to share. But I want to thank you so much for being here. Esther, thank you so much for coming here, because for you, you're still in the process. It's one thing to speak about it when you've totally healed. It's another thing to be able to speak about it when you are in that process. So I commend you so much, just like I commend everybody here. Of course. But thank you. And I hope that this is helpful for you
No, it is.
to
Very
know
well.
that
Very
there's
well.
life after
In fact,
now.
Yes.
You know, and just in case your husband gets to see this, I hope that he also, and I'm glad that you mentioned that this is not to
About
demonize
hatred.
anyone. I hope they can see that they can, if help is necessary, they can get help, just like you have said. If it's redeemable, it can be redeemed, but two cannot work together except if they
Except they
agree.
agree, yeah.
So please, for the men and the husbands who are going to watch this,
The brothers, uncles.
this is not against anyone.
Yeah.
This is just our part of the story, the woman's part of the woman's perspective, and what she's going through. The rest of it is left for you to judge. That's it. After you hear what these men have done, you decide whether we're just accusing them or whether truly there's something off. You know, goodness is goodness, truth is truth, kindness is kindness. You can tell when someone is just being mean and wicked, evil, and when someone is just having a moment. So different situations. Thank you so much for being here. You can send in your comments, follow the channel, share your story, and if there's anything you'd love for us to speak about here on The Balance, please do well to share. Contact us through the email if you have anything that you want to unburden. If you want to reach out to any of these women, please reach out to us, and they are available one way or the other to be able to give you an ear or help you the way that they can professionally. All right. Same thing with me and the show as well. God bless you. See you on the next one. Stay kind, stay loving, and remain positive. God bless you.